Welcome to another edition of Points of Interest, brought to you by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Paul Boucher. I'm the President and CEO of the Chamber. And each week we present to you the events going on in the Lebanon area for the week and have a guest. And this week is no different. We have a special guest, David Pierce, who is the Honorable David Pierce, who is our Senator from District 5. Who'll be talking to us about the last session of the legislature, the budget and such, and keep you informed on those activities. So for this week in the Upper Valley, we have a number of activities going on that involve not only adult participation, but kids also. Beginning on Thursday, Lebanon College is having their open house from 5:30 to 7, and that's right here on the mall here in Lebanon, and learn about degree and certificate programs. Not too late to go back to school and get a certificate or a degree, and the classes will be starting pretty quick in early September, so you can find out more about that at Lebanon College on Thursday. We have in Canaan Meeting House readings, and that's at 7:30 p.m. again on Thursday, and it's at the 1793 Meeting House, beautiful old location, which is right across the street from the Canaan Street Lake, and that is an adult reading program, and the book is Vermont Haunts that they're going to be reading from this particular week. And be it Thursday, very busy day here on the Green. We have the farmers market and a lot of local produce, meats, prepared foods, and crafts. And they have live music during the program. And so they run 4 to 7. 7 o'clock, we have the Front Porch Series, which is this week, The Soul of a Man. And it's 7 p.m. And at 6 p.m., they're going to have a classic car exposition. Anybody likes to look at old classic cars? They'll begin at 6 p.m. and followed by the concert, The Soul of Man, at 7 p.m. We talked about Canaan before. Canaan has got their Old Home Days. That begins on Friday, runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they have parades and craft, soapbox derby on Saturday, and ham and bean supper on Saturday evening. Really a great event if anybody is interested. In Canaan, they really do a nice job. And then we have the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen. Those not in Lebanon itself. This is a big event every year that brings thousands of people to the area, and it begins this Saturday and runs for 2 weeks actually at the Sunapee ski area. They open at 10 a.m. To 5 p.m. And that, again, is a great event. They've been doing it there for a number of years. So it's been really, really good. Next Monday for the Monday night concerts, and we have concerts every Monday night also, it's the Lime Town Band, and they will be performing at 7 o'clock. And the Creative Movement School of Dance will be performing at 6 p.m. So as the warm-up act, as we say. And then for children, they have at the Enfield Shaker Museum Summer Fun, they call it, and that's Saturdays through September 21st, 10 a.m. to noontime, right there at Shaker, at the Shaker Museum. We have the play, the musical, I should say, South Pacific, is coming to the Lebanon Opera House August 3rd. And if it was like the Sound of Music that we had last week, it was an excellent performance, and they did a great job, and pretty much a sellout. So I would suggest that you get your tickets early and reserve for that. For the business community, we have SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives, located in the Citizens Bank building. And they do walk-in service every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for businesses that are looking for counseling or just help in either getting a business going. One of the courses they do offer is So You Really Want to Start a Business. And they give you, no matter what field, they have retired execs from manufacturing, from marketing, from finance and such, and they'll gear you right directly to a SCORE executive that could help you in that regard. And so that is every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at National Bank Building. We also have, of course, our local activities, but probably don't mention as much as we should of those. We have a number of hiking trails in the Upper Valley that if you want to take a hike, we have a map here at the Chamber if anybody's interested, and we operate, as some of you know, the information booth that's located here on the green and is staffed by the Senior Citizens Council here in Lebanon. And we pick up maps of all the trails, all the property owned by the city, and take a hike on the trails. We have a gorgeous pool, municipal pool, that the city built brand new about 3 years ago, and offers swimming from 1 to 7 during the week, 1 to 5 on Sundays, and usually in the morning they're doing swimming lessons. So available for lap swim or just regular swim, small pool for the kids, and larger ones for older kids and adults. And it's a great venue, one of the real assets to the city of Lebanon. So those are the activities and the things we have to offer here in Lebanon for this week. And we welcome Senator Pierce to our program. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thanks for having me.
David was on our program when he was running for office, and this really was your first term as senator.
It was.
Although you're no stranger to the process in Concord. You served how many terms in the House?
3 terms in the House, so 6 years.
6 years in the House.
Yeah.
And so, much of a transition for you?
I was asked that question recently, and before I got sworn in, I figured, I'd been there 6 years, I knew where everything was, I knew where I was going. And then I got to the morning of the swearing in, and I was kind of overcome. I was like, wow, I'm only one of 24 now instead of 400. And so it's very different. Plus, the tone in Concord has changed a lot since the last term.
With the new governor?
With the new governor, with more balanced power in the legislature, balance between Republicans and Democrats. And I think that is a very good thing. Civility has finally returned to Concord, and I think a lot of really good common sense policies as well.
Your background and how that brought to you where you are today, where you were from, education, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Texas, so if you pay attention, close attention, you might be able to hear the twang every once in a while. And got an accounting degree for an undergraduate degree, and then I worked for a couple of years for a public accounting firm, at the time one of the big 8 accounting firms. Got my CPA license, went back to law school, got my law degree, and at the same time I got an MBA in international business. And since then I've had various jobs working for, I did a clerkship right out of law school for a judge in Pennsylvania. And then been working for various law firms, and then ever since we moved to the Upper Valley, I've had my own practice where I've been, doing contract work, business deals, things like that.
Great. Excellent background to be in the legislature,
yes,
both the legal and the financial
yes.
end of it. So, bottom line, you mentioned that things are, seems to be a lot more civil now, but bottom line, the whole session, how'd you?
Well, as with any session, there were a lot of highs and there were some lows as well. But I think the biggest issue that any legislature will face is the budget, because it's in our case it's $10-11 billion for the biennium. And what I can say about the budget year this year, and it really kind of dovetails with the civility argument or the civility comment that I made, is that for the first time since 2001, I think, we had the largest majorities voting for the budget. The Senate voted unanimously for the budget, and the House, I think there were less than 20-25 votes against it. Governor Hassan has showed some really strong leadership in that. She proposed a budget that funded our priorities, like the budget, just a couple of things, education. Fully refunded the community college system. places like River Valley Community College down in Claremont, where are partnering with businesses in order to train workers to have better jobs. It partially restored funding to the university college system.
And I'm appreciative to that. As I mentioned earlier, I am the treasurer for the foundation for the 7 community colleges,
Right.
and they call unique scholarships.
Right, right.
And our chancellor, asked the legislature, or asked the governor particularly, that if we didn't raise tuitions this year, would they try to get the unique scholarships back? And,
Right.
and tuitions didn't go up. We got and what it does, and just in our system, 298 $1,000 scholarships are going to New Hampshire resident students.
Right.
And when you're talking $2,900 to $3,100 for tuition, that's a big help.
It is.
So we appreciate that.
Well, I mean, it's good for the students, but it's good for the community, because I mean, I think it was last year, I went and did a tour of Hypertherm with its new facility here in Lebanon, and I talked to a couple of guys who are in their mid-20s or so. They graduated from high school and they were just going to go work at a garage or whatever. They went to River Valley Community College because Hypertherm and RVCC down in Claremont had this partnership. And they got trained, and now they're making $80,000 a year. That's great for them, but it's good for the community as well.
Yeah.
So those our increased funding back to the community colleges is an investment in our communities. It really is, because it does pay a lot back.
It just, I am on the advisory board at River Valley, and another program, because this was so successful, there was a need in Claremont for welders. And with the bridge builders and such that are in Claremont. And so a similar program was started with them, and that's doing extremely well also.
Right, well, not every kid is destined for a 4-year college.
No.
And the community colleges fill just a tremendous opportunity and gap of tremendous opportunity for people who don't see 4-year colleges in their future. And as I was saying, we partially restored funding to the university system, and in exchange for that, the university system trustees agreed to freeze tuition
Also.
for 2 years.
Excellent.
And that's excellent because, we started out at low funding, and then in the last legislature, they made the single deepest cut to higher education in the nation's history. And we're slowly getting it back. We're on the pathway back, I think, to fully funding the university system, because our university system students here in New Hampshire at Plymouth and Keene and UNH pay the highest in-state tuition rates in the country, and our students graduate with the highest debt load of any students for in-state students going to a state school in the country. And we need to invest in those people, in those kids, because again, just like with the community colleges, they're going to be powering the economy of the future.
Sure. And your day will come. I know yours are young now, but your day will come
Yes.
when they hit the university system, and you'll be saying the same thing. Where am I getting this funding to send the kids to school?
Well, that's what we're saving now.
You are now,
yeah,
okay.
But they're only 4 and 9.
Oh, okay.
So we got a little bit of time. Yeah.
Unfortunately, as they grow older, the tuition increases proportionally
Right,
that much higher. So
exactly.
it's not like you're catching up in it.
All right, so I'll be coming to you sometime in the future asking for a contribution.
Right. We do. I'm glad you brought that up, because we do scholarships here in
I knew that.
in Lebanon, or the Upper Valley actually. And the funds come from our golf tournament that we do once a year, and we support the 5 or 6 schools from Franklin Pierce to Lebanon College, Granite College, Granite State College, Community College of Vermont, and the Teachers Institute for Summit. And so this year in the spring semester, we broke $75,000 that we have contributed
From a golf
from golf tournament over the years.
Over the years.
And so we will be meeting. I'm meeting with all the financial aid people from those schools, and so we'll be distributing those packets to the financial aid people. So if anybody's listening and looking for a scholarship and such, the financial aid people will have the applications. Early September, we'll meet, award the scholarships, and some is, hey, if we get the 75,000, we've done quite a bit
You've
in
done
years
a
past.
wonderful job.
So we're,
Yes.
we're looking to continue that.
Right.
So now we get the expenses side. How are we gonna find the money to pay for this?
Well, I neither in the House nor the Senate have I served on the budget committees, and I think they have a magic wand.
Oh,
Because at the beginning of the budget process, it looks bleak. The governor will submit a budget, and then it starts going through the process, the legislative process. And they don't call it like sausage making for nothing. It's a process to behold. And they've done it again, and we have some really good state representatives here in Lebanon. Susan Almy is the chair of the Ways and Means Committee in the House, and that's where the money comes from. And so she's done a phenomenal job of helping shepherd that budget through. And then also in Hanover, there are two, which is in my Senate district, there are two representatives, Sharon Nordgren and Bernie Ben, who are on the Finance Committee on the expense side. And, I just think that the overall message that I want listener and the watchers to take home is that, again, the Senate voted unanimously for this budget. I mean, Democrats and Republicans coming together like that is
Yes.
rare, as we see coming out of Washington. But we work together with the Republicans. I'm a Democrat, and we work together with the Republicans in the Senate, and that 350 or so vote in the House, I think. And again, I really do point back to Governor Hassan's leadership in this, because the tone has completely changed, and I think she was the right leader for the right time to lead us out of these last 2 years.
I can remember years past where we've run over what they call continued resolution, which means the budget didn't pass, so you worked on your last budget
Right.
Until you got it passed, and at times it really went into the fall.
Right.
In issues.
There was some, excuse me, but there was some talk of that might have happened this time,
yeah.
but no, we all came together, and it was a good thing.
I know the governor had put in, I don't know how many, was it 80 million?
80 million.
For the proposed casino.
Right, for a licensing fee.
For a licensing fee alone,
Right.
and of course, with no casino, no 80 million.
Right.
So I guess they were creative.
They were very creative in finding that somewhere else.
Just this quarter here, I noticed that the business profits tax was up, and of course the liquor income was way up too.
Right.
And you hate to live off the back of the
Right.
liquor buyers, but
Right.
it really helped the budget.
It really did. Business taxes, both the business profits tax and I believe the business enterprise tax as well, receipts have been up, which is a good indicator that business is getting stronger here in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Other issues that face the legislature this year that you were involved with?
Yeah, I think this is a Lebanon Chamber, so businesses are particularly interested. A bill that I co-sponsored and that again passed unanimously in the Senate was a reauthorization of the research and development tax credit. What had happened is we had passed that in 2007, I believe, and then it needed reauthorization in 2011, and the legislature failed to reauthorize it. I think there was some wrangling, and they put some language on there that wasn't acceptable, and so it lost. But you passed unanimously in the Senate, co-sponsored it with Senator Odell from District 8, and we made it permanent, so we never have to reauthorize it again, and we doubled it from $1 million to $2 million. So if there are businesses watching this and they do qualified research and development expenses, they can apply for a tax credit against their business profits tax or business enterprise tax for that. I think that was a significant step. That was one of the first bills that we got done. We hurried it through the legislature because we wanted to turn things around from the last term. And the House passed it, not unanimously, but the House passed it with wide bipartisan margins as well. And so it was very, very encouraging. And I started out the session, as you know, in my campaign, focused on finding ways to help create jobs, and the R&D tax credit does that. It not only gives the business a direct credit against their taxes, but once they're investing in that R&D, that research and development, that allows them to, a lot of those costs are increased payroll costs. And they're hiring more people to conduct that research and development, and that only helps businesses. I think there were a couple of low points for business this time as well, though, and the one I'm thinking of in particular is a raise in the road toll, the gas tax. I co-sponsored that with a representative from Nashua, and because I believe that the quality of our infrastructure is absolutely vital to conducting business in New Hampshire, to not only retaining businesses in New Hampshire, but also inviting new businesses to come. You look at, I think it's CNBC, the cable news channel, business channel, and they do an annual ranking of states and business friendliness, the best states for business in America. And whereas New Hampshire is almost always in the top 20 for inviting good business, we ranked 46th, no higher than 45 in the last few years, about the quality of our infrastructure.
Oh.
Yeah, only 17% of our roads and bridges in New Hampshire are rated as in good condition. All the other 83% are either fair or poor. And you can't move, a manufacturing employer can't move their goods across the state unless you can count on the infrastructure. You see right here in Lebanon, the bridge going over to White River Junction.
Yeah.
They had to build a temporary bridge because the other one just couldn't withstand the loads. And you can't facilitate business that way.
It's been a long time, too, since the gas tax
Yes.
was increased.
1991.
91, I knew it was, a good while back.
Right.
And really, if you rank, I saw some statistics recently that we are not the highest in New England with gas tax.
I think we're the lowest,
Yeah,
actually.
I think we may be,
Yeah,
yes.
I think we're the lowest. And one of the things that really concerned me before I signed on, I had two concerns before I signed on to the bill. Number one is that if we raise the gas tax and we get that additional tax revenue, that it's not just spent, it's not a piggy bank. It's not for everything.
Yeah.
And so I insisted that the sponsor put in a provision that created an absolutely dedicated fund, even within the highway fund, to go specifically and only for construction, because that's what we need. We need to repair our infrastructure. The other part that I was concerned about was, I'm thinking, gas was already, at the time, $3.50 a gallon, $4 a gallon, something like that. And I was worried that adding an additional 12 cents, albeit over in the next 4 years, would really hurt a lot of people because it's 12 cents a gallon. But I did some economic research. I had some research there at the Senate do some research for me as well, and found through my research that there is no strong correlation between a rise in the gas tax and the price of gasoline at the pump.
It's so much, people don't realize it, it's so much a gallon. It has
Yes.
nothing to do with the price of gas.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
It is, the price of gasoline at the pump is determined largely by market forces. And you can see that we're in a very good place here in District 5 to see that manifest because, as you know, in this past term, Vermont just raised its gas tax. It was already much higher than New Hampshire's, and they raised it again. But if you go here in Lebanon and see what the price of gasoline is, and you have the Gulf Station right here on the green, and you go over to White River Junction, you see what the price of gasoline is, it's not that much different. So if the gas tax just added, 12 cents on top of the price of gasoline, then you would think that, the gas in White River or in Vermont generally would be 50 cents higher a gallon.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's not.
Right.
We do get some Fed aid for roads and
Yes.
bridges, and that comes from the Fed tax that we now pay.
Right.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but that is strictly for interstate
Right, for
highways.
federal highways.
Federal highways, so
Right.
you can't do one going north or south or that type. It's Interstate 89, Interstate 93, 95,
Right.
going on is strictly for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And having come back from Concord this morning, a lot of construction going on. And
Exactly. Good.
So at least it's that's being put to work. And then of course a lot of that funding too, some of that funding is going to the expansion of 93 from
Right.
the border to Salem.
Right. Well, the concentration of the population in our state of New Hampshire is concentrated in the I-93 corridor,
Yeah.
in the southern tier of the state. And so consequently, there's a lot more commerce going on there, a lot more commuters going on there. And at some point, the legislature decided we need to widen I-93, and that was like 10 years ago or so, and it's still not completed because we haven't raised,
gone up,
we
yes,
haven't
yeah.
we haven't committed ourselves to investing in it.
Of course, I always said, that it's because there was a lot more votes down there than
There
there was
are a
up
lot.
here. So
Right.
that's why all the concentration has been down there.
Right.
Yeah,
However, the exit 20 on I-89
Yeah.
was a wonderful redo. You don't sit in traffic, 20 cars ahead of you just to turn left to go to Vermont anymore.
And they did that, having talked to some of my members who do business down there, that during the whole construction process, they did a great job and
They did.
did not hamper them in business in any
Right.
way. So,
Right,
yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look over in White River, I know I was there this morning dropping off my daughter for a summer camp, and they've got Bridge Street is just absolutely closed. And
Oh, yes,
in
that's
front
right.
of some businesses,
Yeah.
so those businesses, I'm not sure
They'd be
how they're
ready.
gonna withstand that.
Yeah.
And
They do.
they did a phenomenal job because West Lebanon really is the hub of business activity for the Upper Valley.
It is, yes. What do they call it? I have a book that somebody sent me that we are a micro hub of the area.
Okay.
And this being here, and there's issues with that too. City of Concord, for example, which, a lot of the properties are owned by the state, pay no
Right.
taxes.
Right.
Well, there's, some consequences to, us also being.
Right.
And, but, I always say it's a trickle down
Right.
effect, and it trickles down to our business community. Yeah.
Well, one of the things about Lebanon too, because it is the hub, is you have a lot of people coming into Lebanon and using services like police and maybe even ambulance or whatever. And they're using the services, but because they're not from Lebanon, they're not paying for them because those services usually paid through the property tax, the
Correct.
fire, police. And so that's a concern for Lebanon. It needs to. There are a lot of costs associated with being Lebanon because it is the center of the Upper Valley.
I mean, we say our population is around 13,000.
Mhm.
Any given day, we talk about being 38 to 42,000
Right, right.
in the city, or come in the city either to work or to shop.
Right, yeah.
So,
I go grocery shop. I live in
yeah,
Etna, but I
yeah,
go
you can
grocery shopping
at
in
Lebanon.
Lebanon.
That's
I do.
actually love to hear that.
I do. But just one more thing on the gas tax. Our proposal would have raised the gas tax 12 cents over the next 4 years, 3 cents a year. And we found some studies, and the Department of Transportation conducted some studies, that because 83% of our roads are in either fair or even poor condition, it costs the average driver, I believe it's $323 a year to keep their car maintained because of the poor condition of the roads. And
So
so,
if you hit a pothole,
if you hit a pothole, your
okay.
alignment goes
Yeah,
out.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know, I
yeah,
saw
okay.
the co-op garage there in Hanover. I think it was $85 for a realignment. And if that happens several times,
Wow.
and so first of all, you look at that. It's not going to raise the price of gasoline, and then correlate that with, and if we don't do it, you're going to continue paying $300, $400, $500 into the future per year to keep your car maintained if we don't improve and invest in our infrastructure. So that was a disappointment for me this year. But we have some indications that because the House passed the gas tax, the Senate killed it, but we do have some indications that it may be coming back in 2014 from Senate Republican leadership, which I think it's a smart thing. It's an investment in the state.
Yeah. Other than finances or monies, I'm sure you did other things in the Senate this year.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. One of the things that I'm not sure how a lot of people feel about it, but we passed a medical marijuana bill. There's some very compelling testimony from terminally ill and chronically ill patients coming in and saying that that cannabis was really the only compound that really helped ease both their pain and their suffering. Governor Lynch, the governor for the past 8 years, had always said he would veto such a bill, and so even though the bills may have passed the legislature, he would veto them, and the vetoes were sustained. Governor Hassan, though, said she would look at a bill. She wasn't just going to sign any bill, but any medical marijuana bill, but we crafted a bill and got large majorities in both the House and the Senate, and Governor Hassan signed it. And I think it's because it's tightly regulated, it's limited to licensed dispensaries, and it's not going to go into effect for maybe a year, maybe even two, because the regulatory scheme has to be put in place. And that was something that that I insisted upon, and other senators insisted upon, is that this is a first. This may be a first step in a progression of things, but we're going to get this right, and we're going to make sure that it's not abused. Because you go to places like California that has had medical marijuana for more than a few years, and there's a lot of abuse going on, and that's not going to happen in New Hampshire, or at least that's our intent. It's not going to happen in New Hampshire. Voter ID. Voter ID was a bill was passed in 2012, and there was hardly any problems with it in the November 2012 elections. And there were some proposals to limit the number of IDs and just make it harder to vote. But again, at the end of the day, Republicans and Democrats came together, and we passed a bill that I could vote for, because I've been a big proponent of free access to the polling booth. I think that voting is the most fundamental right we have, and from that, all of our other rights are protected. And so I believe in free access to the ballot box by qualified voters, and instead of putting these barriers up. And so the compromise bill that came through, I think, was a good compromise bill. So that was good as well. Increased aid to local communities. The last budget downshifted a lot of state costs to our local communities, and you'll see in many communities in the Upper Valley, property taxes had to go up because of that. But Governor Hassan was insistent, and we in the legislature agreed, that we had to increase our funding back to the local communities, because the state aid grants that come back to the communities, of course, go directly to offset the amount of expenses for a community, and so therefore the property taxes. Because I believe, and there are many in the legislature that believe, that the property tax structure that we have in this state, where over 60 cents of every local and state tax dollar comes from the property tax, is just not sustainable.
It's very high.
It really is. I mean, senior citizens are being taxed out of their homes.
I often wonder how they can keep their home.
Well, yeah, I mean, they may have bought a home for $10,000 back in the 50s, and now it's assessed at $300,000,
Yes.
$400,000, and they're paying taxes on that, at a time when their income is now fixed. And so, we need to, I was very happy that the increased funding back to the municipalities, because that constitutes about 45–50% of the budget. And so downshifting from the state to the localities is not good for anybody, I don't think.
And I mentioned to you, Medicare extension or enhancement or...
Well, it's Medicaid expansion.
Medicaid, yeah,
Right,
is a big bite also of the budget also.
Well, the thing is,
I want to get away from the dollars, but it seems like we always end up back
well,
there.
yeah, I guess maybe because it's the chamber, and because I do have the business background, and so I enjoy talking about those issues. But Medicaid expansion didn't pass. I voted for it, but we lost that vote, and because I think it accomplishes, for me, not only a moral issue, because there are 60,000 Granite Staters who will have insurance if this is passed. But also it's a financial issue. It really is, because we pay a certain amount of premium, health insurance premiums per month, right? And it's at a level. And it's at that level in part because people who don't have insurance have to go to the emergency room to get their primary care. And emergency room treatment is the most expensive type of health care to get. And so, because they're not paying for it, because they can't afford insurance, then the insurance companies are spreading that cost to the rest of us. And so 60,000 more Granite Staters get health insurance through the Medicaid expansion program. Then that is going to, the design of that is to bring our insurance premiums down. It's It's going to create over 5,000 jobs. It's going to bring $2 billion into the state. And especially here in the Upper Valley where DHMC, Dartmouth Hitchcock, is the largest employer. And we have, the hospitals, Alice Peck Day, also here in Lebanon, and Valley Regional down in Claremont. That's going to be a very good economic boost for those institutions as well. So what we did in the legislature, even though we didn't pass it, we passed a measure that we're calling a pathway to Medicaid expansion. What we did is we created a study committee that's going to study the issue, and their report date is October 15th of this year.
Oh, so it's a
Yeah,
short fuse.
It's a short fuse.
They're
It's
gonna keep
gonna be
their feet to the fire.
Exactly,
as
it's
they
a
say, yeah?
short and intense study. And I think what will happen is the committee will find that with the $2 billion coming in, with the 5,000 jobs created, the 60,000 grant staters being insured, I think, my guess is that they will find that Medicaid expansion is a good deal for New Hampshire,
Wow.
because, the thing is that we all pay taxes for Medicaid. That's part of the FICA tax. I'm sorry. In any event,
insurance,
right. And so we're paying $2 billion in Medicaid taxes that, if we don't accept Medicaid expansion, is not going to be coming back to New Hampshire. We're going to be subsidizing Vermont. We're going to be subsidizing Massachusetts. Those states that have agreed to expand Medicaid access. New Hampshire taxes are going to be going to pay for those if we don't accept it.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And we already are a net donor state to the federal government. I don't want to make that worse.
Yeah. Well, David, we thank you very much for being with us. Very enlightening and what went on, and we'll invite you back probably in the middle of the next session and say, how are we doing? And
Sounds good.
Today's the benchmark, and how do we go from there?
All right.
So
Thank you very much, Paul.
So that is another edition of Points of Interest, brought to you by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce, and we'll be back next week with another program. Until then.